Good evening, I'm Charles Payne, and we have breaking news for you right at the top. Fox News has new polls released at this very moment, and it shows the race between Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton could not be much tighter nationally. Hillary Clinton leads Donald Trump in a four-way race, 45% to 43%. Libertarian Gary Johnson at 5%, and Green Party candidate Jill Stein at 2%. Now, Clinton's lead is well within the margin of error of 3%. In a head-to-head matchup, Clinton leads Trump by just 1 point, and of course, that is even more within the margin of error. Hillary Clinton at 46%, Donald Trump at 45%. By the way, compare this to the same poll taken 2 weeks ago. Our Fox News poll now shows that Clinton down 3 points from where she was at 49%, and Trump up 1 point from 44% in that previous poll. Now, with 4 days to go until America chooses their next president, there's no doubt that the polls have tightened, and today Clinton surrogates held 12 separate rallies, including an event that President Obama headlined that, could all signal that there's an amazing state of panic within the Clinton camp. Joining me now to discuss, Adriana Cohen, Michael Barone, Brian Keane, and Gina Loudon. By the way, before I get to you, Michael Barone, I will let the audience know the composition of the poll was 40% Democrat, 40% Republicans. Michael Barone, you wrote an article about the state of panic within the Clinton campaign.
Well, I wrote the article looking back a week now to the letter by FBI Director James Comey, and I think the Clinton campaign and their allies in mainstream media kind of panicked. You had the candidate and other spokesmen saying that the letter was addressed only to Republican congressmen. Well, if they looked at page 2, they would have seen that the letter was indeed addressed to Republicans and Democrats on the appropriate committee in line with standard practice. And that kind of minor leaguers JV error suggests a certain amount of panic and a desire to get out there and attack Comey. The strategy was continued for several days, and I think that it's not a wise strategy for Hillary Clinton to engage in a contest based on honesty and integrity with the FBI director. She's got 66% in this Fox poll say she's dishonest. That's not a argument she can win. Yeah, you know, Gina, the sort of angry Hillary certainly does not play well. It feels disingenuous, and to Michael's point, they stayed on that for a few days. I don't know if they've righted the ship, but if you look at the way they've dispersed the surrogates into majority blue states that should have been slam dunk, there's nothing but panic in the air.
I agree, Charles, and I think that there should be some panic in the air. If you look at the ever-widening enthusiasm gap, and in this poll, it's even deeper in the favor of Mr. Trump. And Hillary's, people are just not excited to vote for her, and they're even less excited, I think, when they're talked to like a bunch of school children, which is precisely the mode, for whatever reason, that Hillary Clinton takes every single time she goes on the attack. So the fact that they have all of these surrogates out there all over the country tells me that they don't feel like Hillary Clinton can win it on her own merit. And I think that psychologically will penetrate to voters.
Brian Keane, there's absolutely no doubt. I mean, we're not talking about surrogates helping Hillary across the finish line. They're dragging her across the finish line.
No, Charles, I disagree with the premise. The only panic we're hearing today or seeing today is really coming from the Trump campaign with the Chris Christie bombshell. I mean, quite frankly, you have the chairman of the transition team. His closest allies have now been found guilty. So the only panic is really coming from Trump about whether they're going to fire Christie. And so we're waiting for those tweets to come out from the Trump campaign.
Yeah, you might be waiting a long time for those tweets.
Well, I know,
but respect.
But if you're talking about panic, I mean, that is felony conviction, and that is amazing. And Trump, by the way, himself had said he knows that Christie knew it. Yeah, he said that during the debates. But let's go to the polls, because quite frankly, it's not breaking news that 4 days before an election, the polls are tightening. But that said, I also think we're flooding the waters with all these surrogates. That's what a good campaign does.
All right, let me bring in Adriana Cohen, and I just want to let the audience know, just maybe an hour or two ago, there was finally a decision on the so-called Bridgegate case. Chris Christie was not involved in that case. It was two of his aides. Although I'm talking to the audience now, Brian. It was two of his aides. They were found guilty. It does not implicate, it doesn't change anything with respect to Governor Chris Christie. And the last I checked, he was still in the transition team for Donald Trump, and I think Donald Trump still holds him in high regard. Now, not to deflect too much, Adriana Cohen, he talked about the blue wall. the blue wall is, if it's not crumbling, it is showing signs of wear and tear.
Absolutely. I mean, they shouldn't have to campaign there at all. And if you look at an average of all the national polls and the battleground state polls, Donald Trump is in the margin of error. He could definitely win this in just a few days. And Hillary Clinton had a double-digit lead just a few days ago that has tanked. I mean, her numbers have come down significantly, and so they're absolutely in panic mode.
You know, Michael, you've seen this before, and maybe to Brian's point, we know polls typically do tighten up a little bit, but I think what Adriana's talking about, the rate at which Hillary's lead has evaporated, has got to be alarming, and it feels like, to your point, she's mishandled it thus far.
Well, I think that, you know, there's some strategic decisions made by the Clinton campaign that may, in the post-mortem, be considered questionable. For one thing, she spent a lot of time in Arizona to try and win votes there and win a state that 11 electoral votes that previously had been safely Republican. When she was ahead nationally by 7 points or so, that looked like a possibility. Now that she's ahead nationally by 2 points, and this is the same in the Fox News poll and the RealClearPolitics.com average of recent polls, she's going into my home state of Michigan. That is a state that was 54% for Barack Obama. It is a part of the supposed blue wall, which I think has never been quite as high as people think, because some of those states that have consistently gone Democratic have only gone so by small margins in some elections. But she's gone into Michigan. You look at the latest Mitchell Research poll in Michigan, you're showing Donald Trump ahead in Macomb County, the northeastern suburbs of Detroit. You're finding him ahead in western Wayne County, the western suburbs of Detroit. Those are traditional blue-collar areas, which show that Michigan poll showed it a 44-44 race in a state where Barack Obama won 54%. So Trump's doing better than previous Republicans with white non-college graduates. There are a lot of them in a state like Michigan and Wisconsin and even Minnesota. He's doing well with them in Ohio and Iowa. So with the race about a 2-point difference in the national polling, Clinton ahead, it's going there. As far as Brian's concerned that people are going to withdraw from Trump because of associates or appointees of his transition team, I don't think the transition team's head's name is on the ballot, and I confess I don't even know who the head of Hillary Clinton's transition team is. I should know, but I don't know.